Hi, I'm Councilman James Solomon. I represent Ward E in Jersey City, downtown. And I'm here at with the Hudson Media Group and some distinguished guests, which we'll introduce you to in a second, to talk to you a little bit about the Reval today. Obviously, the Reval is an incredibly important and frankly jarring situation that's happening, particularly to downtown. And I was, recently elected and started the job on January 1st. And really, priority number one for me when I got into office was to figure out what's going on with the Reval. And it turns out that only a few weeks later, people started getting their notifications of values, a letter in the mail that said how valuable your property is currently assessed at, and an estimated 2018 tax bill. And that has led to any number of different questions, concerns, and so I think it just couldn't be more important to try to get information out to the public in as many different means and methods as possible. So on today's show, we'll give you some actionable information that you can use as you get your notification of value, that assessed value for your home. We'll talk through the formal appeal process. If you choose to formally appeal your assessment before the county board, how does that happen? What do you need to do? We'll give you that type of information. And maybe we'll have a larger conversation around the policies that Jersey City has taken to get us to this point, and maybe what we should do going forward. But I just want to start by saying, I understand why this issue is so important to so many folks downtown. I live in the Village neighborhood. We have folks who have lived there for 2-3 generations, who have lived in the same home for 50, 60, 70 years, and they just got a letter in the mail saying that their taxes are doubling or tripling, and are now starting to ask questions. Can I stay in the home that I lived in? We have a large Latino community downtown that is also, those homeowners are asking real questions about whether they can stay in their homes. And people who moved to Jersey City in the last 5 to 10 years. Many didn't know the Reval was coming, or certainly didn't know the extent of it and how much the taxes are increased. So how did we get here? How did the Reval happen? It's a system statewide, and our experts can tell you a little bit more about it when we start talking to them. But every property is supposed to be valued at the same rate in New Jersey. And towns do a revaluation, and then over time, those values may differ from the market. So a home may have been worth $100,000, but now it's worth $500,000. And eventually, the state requires that all towns reset their values, that the assessed value of every property matches the actual market value of the property, what it would sell for on the open market. Jersey City last did that process, that revaluation of every single property in the whole city in 1989. And so it's been 30 years since we did it. And over that time, values have changed drastically. Now, it's important to know that the revaluation doesn't increase taxes for the city. The city isn't getting extra revenue out of it. Instead, it's shifting the burden based on people's property values. And obviously downtown, that's where the property values have increased the most, and that's why downtown is seeing such a significant increase in our taxes. Now that's led to policy questions. Is this the right way to do this? Now the state puts restrictions on what we can do. But one of the things that I really want to explore, and we can talk with our experts about it, are other towns that do a system where they do the revaluation annually, every single year, so you don't see these big, giant sort of cliffs that people are facing with 100% increases in their taxes. So can we shift to that system? It's also raised policy questions about our city budget. Are we spending dollars and money effectively? And it couldn't be more important for me to subject every single thing that comes before the council, whether it's tax abatements, whether it's our budget, to strict fiscal scrutiny and make sure that we are saving as much money as possible. So why don't we pause here and let's get into the details. So what's happening with this reval? We'll get your question answers. If you want to appeal, what can you do? We'll get those questions answered, and then we'll have the longer conversation about maybe what we can do going forward. So we'll be right back. Thank you.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights. Your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments. Carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants. All major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Welcome back. It's Councilman James Solomon here, representing downtown Ward E, Jersey City. So let's dig into these details on the reval and try to answer some of the questions you might have. So I have two guests. I have Mark Duda from Appraisal Systems, and I have Peter Zip from Zip, Tannenbaum, and Cacavelli. And why don't you guys just briefly introduce yourselves? Peter, yeah,
Zip,
start, yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on this
Absolutely.
segment and talk to you.
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer specializing in tax appeal work.
Yeah.
I represent both municipalities as well as taxpayers. I have many clients in Jersey City. I know Mark very well. I know Appraisal Systems
Sure, yeah.
very well.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And I'm here to answer any questions I can to help you and help hopefully provide some information that's useful for your constituents and everybody else that's watching.
Absolutely. One of the experts. Mark? Yeah.
I'm Mark Duda. I'm Vice President of Appraisal Systems. I am the project manager for the revaluation.
Right.
So I appreciate you having me on this segment as well.
Yeah.
I know we've done a number of speaking engagements together.
Yeah.
And they've been very informative and valuable, and we've certainly had a lot of questions. So I'm looking forward to getting additional information out there today.
Yeah, and the more, obviously we'll be answering these questions on the show today. But if you have questions, obviously you can email me, and my email is jsolomon@jcnj.org, and I'll forward them to Peter and Mark. Why don't you guys share your emails as well? Yeah.
My email is pzip, that's ZIPP, at ziplaw.com.
Awesome.
Jersey City, one word, at ASINJ.com.
So if we don't get to your question, you have the ability to get it to us. So Mark, why don't you just start us off by briefly telling, right now, what has Appraisal Systems done and what are you going to do? Where are we in this reval process?
Okay, so there was a great introduction that you gave. I mean, a revaluation is a program by which all properties are appraised at full and fair market value for the purposes of taxation, and that is as per the New Jersey State Constitution. Yeah. At this point, we've spent the last year going door to door, visiting every property, so residential properties, commercial properties, nonprofit properties, gathering the data that we need to determine the market value for every single line item in Jersey City. There's about 62,000 of those. At this point, we have mailed out most of the letters. There are still some letters to be mailed this week. And we're meeting with the folks one-on-one to discuss their values. So in the letter that we sent out, we worked with the city to provide essentially the most informative letter we could. So sometimes you just mail a letter and we say, as of October 1st, your market value was X. This time, we decided to include the prior taxes, an estimated tax rate for the following year, along with their new assessment. So we can say your old assessment was X, your prior taxes were X, your new assessment is Y, your upcoming taxes will be Y. And so people know if their taxes are actually going up or down. Now that estimated rate assumes a budget neutral environment from all three entities, the county, the school, and the city. It's we have to make that assumption in order to give you an estimated rate. Based upon those letters, folks have given us a call and sat down with us, and we're continuing to meet with people at City Hall. Maybe we didn't get into the property and we need to inspect it. Maybe there's some information they felt we missed in terms of comparable sales or something else. But that's where we're at now. We're in that give and take, we call them informal hearings period with the property owners.
Yeah. So with these informal hearings, and just so you guys know, if you get that assessed value in that letter and you think, hey, this is too much, or too little, or when you see too little, you're probably going to meet with them. But you think it's too much, right? You're probably going to want to sit down with Appraisal Systems, and you can request through that letter your property card. And the property card has a lot of the key pieces of information you're going to want to know. How many kitchens and baths, for example, did Appraisal Systems say you have, and did they accurately categorize them as modern or average or what have you? And so, Peter, maybe you obviously do the formal appeals, but any advice you might have for people as
if you're going to come to the formal appeal, I think what you just said
for the informal
appeal, I think what you just said is a good advice.
Yeah.
What I have found over the years is the most productive use of that is to correct mistakes that if they haven't been in the property, if they have your 3 bathrooms, they have 2 bathrooms, if you have a finished basement, you don't have a finished basement. You can bring some evidence to them. I think that, for the most part, everybody tries to get it right, but it's hard. It's a hard process. So if you can avoid having to go through the process of a formal appeal, I think that, my experience with most of these, it's for the houses. It's not for the commercial properties.
Right, for the houses,
it's for the
condos.
Homeowners, And you know what? It's also informative.
Right.
They'll at least tell you what they relied on in order to reach their value. And so that's important also to find out. Have you been making any adjustments, though, after these meetings so far?
Primarily the adjustments we've been making is, typical, we didn't get in the house. For whatever reason, we didn't connect. We'll send an inspector out and we'll correct the, inaccuracies on the property record card because we had to estimate it to begin with. By and large, those are the adjustments. But sometimes people bring us comparable sales and other evidence, and we'll make adjustments based on that as well.
That makes sense. So, one of the questions we've gotten a few times is someone says, hey, if I didn't do an inspection, but I want to do an informal appeal, is there any way that inspection is going to increase my assessed value?
It could.
And so, what do you guys sort of, how do you answer to that question to those folks?
My advice for that is you should always get a good idea of what your value of your property is. Either get some outside evidence, talk to a local realtor, talk to somebody that has some idea of what your property really is worth. Because you don't really want to bring up something that's underassessed. And you don't really want to waste anybody's time or their time, right? So before you go running there, if you don't know, if you don't know the value of your property, it's probably a good idea to get a handle on it. What you paid for it, what other properties similar sold for. That's usually the best handle. So get some idea about that before you go in there.
And who do you ask to help you with that?
I would either go to local realtors, brokers. You can ask some appraisers. Those people, they have that information.
Absolutely. And some local realtors in downtown have offered to provide free sales comparisons. So I'm happy to provide folks with that information as well. And getting that information is important, so you have the information to make decisions.
Correct. So you do a little homework before you go in.
Yep, absolutely. So, we're going to pause now. We're going to get into the formal appeals in a minute. And thank you for watching.
It takes more than a state-of-the-art medical facility to make a great hospital. It takes a team of dedicated medical professionals. That's the Jersey City Medical Center, Hudson County's #1 hospital. Medical teams consisting of New Jersey's top doctors, Magnet Award-winning nurses, and accomplished hospital associates, all committed to your good health. That's what you have at the Jersey City Medical Center. Make Hudson County's #1 hospital your first choice. Visit us on the web at barnabashealth.org.
Meineke Car Care, conveniently located at 700 Tunnelly Avenue, Jersey City, half a mile north of County Road. Meineke bumper-to-bumper car care. Brakes, exhaust, oil change, wheel alignments, batteries, CV joints, and so much more. First-rate service at a price you can afford. All major cards accepted. Apply for a Meineke card. Meineke, Jersey City. Stop by and let Sammy check your brakes for free.
So welcome back. We just talked a little bit about where we are in this reval process, and we talked about this thing called an informal appeal, where you can sit down with Appraisal Systems and talk about this new assessed value of your home. And just to reiterate, one of the key points here is that you want to email Appraisal Systems, and it's at jerseycity@asinj.com, is that right?
Correct.
You want to email jerseycity@asinj.com, and get your property card. And make sure you look through that property card and make sure the information is accurate, because that's always going to be step one. And then you can potentially talk to some realtors in Jersey City. I have a list of them who can give you an assessed value of your home, or a sense of what your home should be assessed at. But the next step is potentially a formal appeal. So if you really believe that the number is wrong, that assessed value, you can file a formal appeal before the courts. And so, Peter, this is your expertise.
Yeah.
So do you want to just briefly kind of explain, for someone first time they're hearing about this, what is this formal appeal and how does it work?
Okay, so you have two forms. You have either direct appeal to the tax court, or you have an appeal to the Hudson County Board of Taxation. Any property that's assessed at $1 million or less, that's assessed at $1 million or less, has to be filed first at the Hudson County Board of Taxation. Hudson County Board of Taxation has a great website. You just go on it, you say file an appeal, and it takes you through the prompts. And you have to, literally, it's a web application. I mean, I brought copies of those pages if you want to see them, but it's easy enough to do. One of the things you want to do before you do that, in my view, is you want to, like I said before, you want to get an idea if it's worth pursuing. And you can do it on your own as a homeowner. If you have a commercial property and the taxes are less than $25,000 or $25,000 or less, and it's in a corporate name, you could also file it on your own. You don't have to hire an attorney. If it's a corporation and it's a commercial property, I suspect most of these are going to be homes, but if it's commercial property, you're going to need to hire an attorney. Most people don't really need an attorney, I think, at the county board. I really don't. You can represent yourself. If you need an attorney, obviously there's plenty of them out there. There's lots of solicitations going out. I know there are. Not from me, but there's lots of solicitations going out. And the process is pretty straightforward. The attorney will usually work on a contingent fee basis and would be paid on the results that are received. And most attorneys aren't going to take these cases unless they think there's some merit
Real
to
chance of winning,
So they'll look into it themselves. Or they'll ask you if you have any evidence that you can provide.
And what's the type of evidence that you should be
The type of evidence you're going to be looking for homes is going to be comparable sales.
Comparable sales,
Basically, this is the only notices that have gone out so far, and Mark can ask me I'm going to ask him where the rest of them are. The only notices that have gone out so far are the 1 to 4 family.
That's right.
And the condos, 1 to 4 family. Well, that's condo, 1 to 4 family. Right? They haven't sent out anything above 4 family, am I right?
Correct.
And so when are the rest coming out?
We expect them to go out in the next couple of weeks.
That's important. I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. They ask him a question. I'll ask you a question. I'll ask him a question because he'll know. You have 45 days. You have the later of May 1st or 45 days after the notice of assessments received. These little letters that come out is not the notice of assessment. There's a statutory requirement for a notice of assessments, that little card that comes out that will set your new assessment. I'll tell you what your new assessment is. That follows the informal hearings. So are you going to send out different batches, or are they all going to go at once?
We did get an extension till May 1st, so it may be that then the appeal deadline is June 15th.
So
that's the 45 days.
So just so folks know,
that's really important.
When that date is 100% set, we'll let you know. But right now, you should anticipate that date in June. And that you can't wait after that date, because then
no, you're statutorily barred. You're barred as long as you receive notice. If you don't receive notice, then you have until you receive notice. You have 45 days from the date you receive notice, and if they extend it to May 1st, you have to add 15 days to May 1st. And that's after the notices go out. So it's the later of them. So I suspect, but you're going to send them all out as one batch. You're not going to send out the residentials, the 1 to 4, before the commercials, are you?
No.
Okay.
So they'll all come back in a date. We'll get you that date, and then you'll have 45 days to make your appeal if you think you should do it.
And remember, if it's under $1 million, or $1 million or less, actually, you have to go directly to the county board.
Now, a lot of people say, hey, my taxes are too high, so I want to appeal and get my taxes lowered. Is that something you can do?
It doesn't make. No, everybody says that.
I know that, but explain it to folks.
Okay, so here it is. You don't appeal your taxes, you appeal your assessments. Assessments are obviously, your taxes are a result of what your assessment are, but you don't appeal your taxes. The last, one of the things that I like to do, and one of the things I think everybody should do, is they should look to see what their market value of their property was before the implied market value was before the revaluation.
And
the ratio, I think the ratio is 23.66.
Around there.
Yeah, so you use
lower even now.
Right.
Yeah, lower for 18.
Yep.
Yeah.
But for 2017, prior to the reval, you took your old assessment, divided it by 0.23, which I think I have the actual number. Hold on. Yeah, no, it is 0.2366.
Sure.
You'll get an implied market value. Compare that to the new assessment.
Right.
And theoretically, that should, you'll know what the value change was.
Right.
So people aren't, if you look at your old assessment to your new assessment, it's not really fair.
Right.
Because that was only 23.66% of the market value.
Right.
The revaluation brings it up to 100%.
Right.
So look at it. It may not be that dramatic a change. In
Right.
some neighborhoods, and I've been communicated with by a lot of people so far in Jersey City, we have a lot of clients, are very satisfied with their revaluation.
Right. So if you feel you got a fair number, you don't want to go through the appeal process. But if you do feel like you've been overassessed, that's where you would potentially contact the attorney. You can do it on your own. But this is the process you have formally to get your assessment changed. So thank you. We're going to sort of wrap up our show in the next segment and talk about some of the changes we might consider as a city for future revals.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport. Live like you want.
Pinto Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces that address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment. Adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintoproperties.com. Pinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
All right, welcome back. We're in our last segment here. Before we get into the policy questions, I just wanted to ask a quick question to you guys, which is, some folks are either landlords or renters. And can you just give them a very quick overview of, how this reval may affect them and what that means for their rent, either they're charging or they're paying?
You want to take that first? Or?
Well, the landlords would have gotten an income and expense statement from us, and it's important that they return that so that we can consider that information when we value the property. So from our perspective, that's really the most important thing.
Okay, so Peter.
Yeah, the problem with that is a lot of people don't respond to those.
Yeah.
And so you may have a number of rent-controlled apartment buildings, right? Which we don't have yet. We don't have those numbers yet. They're coming, as he said, in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
We don't have rent-controlled apartments with people with fixed incomes, and they may be well located. And if the reval company didn't have the information, they may be assessed as if they were market rent units or at a different number.
Absolutely.
And under those circumstances, you're definitely going to want to file an appeal. You definitely want to challenge that. And that is something I would recommend you get an attorney for, because it gets a little an income analysis gets a little more complicated than just getting comparable sales. You don't want to rely on comparables.
Right.
You want to rely on an income analysis because it's going to be specifically tailored to the income that particular building has.
Right.
And you don't want to displace those people.
Right. And that's for buildings of more than 4 units that are going to be covered by this. And we don't want to displace anybody, so it's incredibly important that if someone doesn't feel that's been taken into consideration, that they move forward. Yeah, Mark, you want to
I would also state that even before they file an appeal, if you get your number and it doesn't make sense, concerning your situation, please give us a call and give us a chance to correct it while we're in this correction period.
Right, and have this informal conversation. Sure, absolutely. So now, other places do it differently, right? So we've had this periodic revaluation. We've waited 30 years to do it. I know we'll debate it. There are other places that do it on a rolling basis or even do it annually. Mark, can you briefly describe, because I know you're more familiar with this, how it works if you do it on a more regular basis?
Sure. I even live in a town that does it on a regular basis. We do what's called a rolling reassessment or a maintenance program. And and we inspect 20% of all properties each year, so that in a 5-year basis, we're inspecting 100% of the properties.
Right.
And that enables us to reset the numbers or reassess the numbers each year.
For every property, not just the 20%.
Correct, for every property.
Yeah.
And so, you know, some folks in Jersey City, for example, are concerned about the way the market is going to react to downtown.
Yep.
Now that the taxes have gone up so much, will my property value suffer, and will I be stuck with this higher assessment forever?
Right.
Well, this type of program will capture any change in the market for the next 5 years.
Right.
So it's a nice thing to do. It's been successful in reducing appeals for our clients that do it.
Absolutely. And there are, you know, the mayor has proposed potentially doing a reval next year, which wouldn't be a rolling, but it would just be next year to try to potentially capture some of these changes that might take place with the higher taxes and the changes in the state and local property tax deduction. But I know, you know, Peter, you've seen these systems. There are pros and cons. So why don't you lay out from your perspective, you know, what should Jersey City be thinking about as we think about maybe moving to one of these systems or not?
It's pretty hard to argue against any system that provides equality in taxation.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, that's what you want to do, right? And you want to make sure everybody is treated equally and fairly. And to the extent that a annual reassessment does that, it's a good thing. It becomes a little impractical, right? It really does. Because you can't inspect every property. And you got Jersey City, you got 63,000 light items, so you're going to inspect 20% of them on an annual basis. You know, one of the things that I've seen happen is that if you do somewhat of regular maintenance, and there's provisions in our administrative rules and our laws to allow regular maintenance, and assessors have the ability to do that, you'll avoid the type of sharp fluctuations. Monmouth County does annual reassessments. Somerset County does, most of Somerset County, I think 15 of the municipalities do it. So they do it. It's a lot more work for the assessors. And but it will reduce the tax appeals, and it will try to level out things. So as Jersey City goes forward, to the extent that they can diligently follow up, and maybe instead of 30 years, do another reassessment. Because a reassessment is different than a revaluation. Do a reassessment, municipal-wide reassessment in 3 years or 2 years might be a good idea. And then they can let's see what happened. They'll be able to see the impact of these higher taxes, because that impact's not going to be felt for a little bit of time. Right? Because by the time sales and people recognize it.
It takes a while.
So it's going to take a little while to filter through.
So, I mean, I think these are, you know, potential policy changes that we should start these conversations with, and obviously you guys are great people to start it with. So we're going to wrap up. Maybe one last thing from each of you. I'll start with Mark, but one thing you want folks to take away from this, if there's one thing you can say to them about where, you know, a message you want them to hear, what is that?
I know the reval was sort of a scary, onerous thing. I think the point is to understand that we want to get the numbers right. We're paid to get the numbers right. We're not paid to over-assess anybody. So look out for your letters, develop some awareness of what the market value of your property is, and by all means communicate with us. And things will go smoothly.
And Peter, last
very quickly, just basically get as much information as you can, and before you go ahead and proceed with an appeal or challenging your assessment.
Get as much information as you can. And obviously reach out to me with any questions. My email is jsolomon, SOLOMON, @jcnj.org. And if you're not an email person, my city office phone is 201-547-5315. Just want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank Peter and Mark for being here. And thank you all, and we'll talk to you soon.